don't we play a game, Nyan?
A game, comrade? At a time like this?
I don't see why not.
But what would we even play?
How about I Spy?
Are you sure you want to do that? Observation is one of my key attributes, you know?
Ooh, let me start. I spy with my little eye something beginning with K.
It's not a killer, is it?
Wow, you got me. Just kidding.
Come on, Zeke. Was that really appropriate for a time like this?
Funny you should say that. At times like this, it's us versus them. The murderer versus the innocent. I thought you all could do with a friendly reminder. Like I said, I was just kidding.
Wow, back already? And I thought I heard a certain lawyer say that they'd never participate in another trial. But I must say, you kids have seriously impressed me with how bloodthirsty you all are. Even as far as killing games go, this was an especially brutal kill.
Are you implying there's been multiple killing games?
now, as usual. It's time for a basic explanation of the class trial rules. As you should all know by now, the blackened is hiding among you. If you find her, then she alone will be punished. But if you pick the wrong person, I'll punish everyone besides the blackened, and that person will earn the right to, exit the dome!
Objection! You're doing this on purpose, aren't you?
Oh? I have no idea what you're talking about.
To lie so remorselessly under oath. If you find her, then she alone will be punished. You just blatantly identified the culprit's gender yet again!
My apologies. I was just making a bet, you know. Surely a female culprit is in order. I mean, you males are just dropping like flies. I couldn't help it.
Check. He has a point.
Now's not the time to agree with the witness, Zeke.
Well, Kilmore, aren't you gonna tell us you were saying that in jest? And that the killer could be male, female, or anything in between?
Hey, who gave you access to my script?
Groot.
In other words, that bear's just trying to fuck with. I mean, mess with us. Sirs? Mans? I recommend that we pay it no heed.
Agreed. But on to the case at hand. Where would we even start?
Allow me to throw my hat into the ring. Gilmore's earlier statements raised a valid point. This murder certainly was brutal. Excessively so, in fact.
So, given the circumstances, you wish to confirm that everyone has a solid understanding of the facts.
You read my mind, Siggy. Have you been taking lessons from Eden?
Oh, hell no! But if he's interested, I wouldn't be opposed to obliging his request.
Hey, Nat? Do you have any suggestions of your own? I mean, you always seem to be way ahead in the ideas department.
No, I think that's a reasonable proposition, Yan. Time to see where this takes us.
I'd imagine we can go quite far. Especially if a certain warden chooses not to obstruct us this time.
That was then, and this is now.
We shall see.
Look, will you lay off the poor girl already? Even an idiot would know that her actions were a one-off. It's wrong to keep defining someone by the actions of their past.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, once again it is time to begin our submissions. We know that the victim died within a 2-hour time span, in that building off to the side of Medieval World.
Yep, he was obviously taken there against his will. Then, Stab, stab, stab! The killer struck repeatedly and mercilessly.
The sound effects were completely unnecessary.
To attack that many times, when a single thrust would have sufficed. He raises a good point.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, once again it is time to begin our submissions. We know that the victim died within a 2-hour time span, in that building off to the side of Medieval World.
Yup, he was obviously taking their—
No, that's wrong! Zeke, did you just say that Phoenix went to the scene against his will?
Yep, sure did. Is there anything wrong with that?
I'm afraid so. Phoenix's body was found with no defensive wounds. This indicates that he was in a perfectly relaxed state of mind, right up until he suffered the first blow. This wouldn't have been the case if he went to the scene against his will, because if that had been the case, he would have been prepared to try and defend himself.
So, TLDR, he willingly went with his murderer to the scene of the crime? Well, what a noob.
Dear Lamb, it is improper to speak ill of the dead.
Yeah, sheesh. It's not like he can defend himself or anything.
Keck. Come on, Levitica. As my former partner, you should know that I was just kidding.
Zeke's unnecessary theatrics aside, are you certain Phoenix willingly went to the scene of the crime? What if the culprit bound him with rope, then forced him to the scene?
That would have left obvious markings on the body. And in addition to that, it would have been exceptionally risky. If he'd made a run for it, called out for help, or something similar, then it all would have been over.
Why wouldn't he scream for help, I wonder?
I know. It was obviously his manly pride.
You're trolling us, right?
Allow me to clarify your assertions, dear Lamb. You are saying that if the culprit spirited Phoenix away against his will, he could have alerted someone with his screams?
Assuming he wasn't gagged, the risk was certainly there.
Let us not overlook the other possibilities that may be divined. For instance, perhaps Phoenix felt that he would endanger someone else by calling out to them. But I suppose we don't have any proof that this was the case. Amidst this crime's intertwining pool, it is a possibility and nothing more.
And thinking back to our investigation, can I confirm there was no indication that he was silenced?
Hi! If he'd been silenced, that would have left distinctive marks around the mouth area.
How intriguing. It seems Natalia has just served up a suspect on a silver platter.
Suspects, you say? Please, do share.
No effort was made to restrain Phoenix in any way, meaning he went willingly with the culprit, not suspecting a thing. Do you not find that incriminating for a certain someone?
It can only be you!
What? Am I being subjected to yet another frivolous accusation?
I'm sorry, Hunt, but this is far from frivolous. I'm just trying to follow the facts here. And this piece of evidence is highly incriminating. This right here. Hunt, please correct me if I'm wrong, but between 7 to 8 p.m., you were completely alone with the victim. So following on from what Florence-chan said, you effectively had free reign in the vicinity of the crime. Especially since there was no one else who could have been alerted if something went awry.
Comrade Natalia, are you forgetting what I told you about the noise I heard?
What's this about a noise?
Well, isn't that just the most convenient tale I've heard all week?
I have to agree. You're sounding mighty sus there, Hunt.
It's true, though. I swear this upon the future of the revolution.
But, do you have anyone who can corroborate your information? I can't go to air with just this.
The Divine Eye counsels caution. Is there anything to suggest that his word is not to be distrusted?
I don't know. This all sounds pretty fishy to me.
And you, Comrade Nat. You heard my statements firsthand. Do you seriously think I was lying? And that I could have been capable of something like this?
So, I guess this settles it. Hunt talked Phoenix into going with him to that creepy old room. And because Hunt's big, British, and whatever, Phoenix probably trusted him.
You couldn't possibly mean that. Shame on all of you! Accusing Hunt like this? This happened during the last trial, too. In that time, he turned out to be innocent.
Therefore, he can't be the killer this time?
I'm sorry, Grace. But your argument is clearly fallacious.
From a strictly logical view, I guess it would be. But I don't care. I trust Hunt. And more than that, there's another suspect we all seem to be forgetting about.
Grace! You trust him so much that you'd be willing to bluff on his behalf?
It's not a bluff. Let's assume for a second that what Hunt said is true. And that Phoenix really did wander off in the time Hunt was searching around outside, going by the same piece of evidence you used earlier, Nat. There's another person who could have also lured Phoenix away. It can only be you! Exactly. If Hunt really is telling the truth, then you also had plenty of time to lure Phoenix to his death. All you would have needed to do was come a few minutes early. And being part of the next surveillance pair, Phoenix wouldn't have suspected anything was wrong. Plus, it would explain your desperation in trying to accuse Hunt.
To go so far to protect Hunt, someone you barely know. I don't quite understand how I should respond to this.
Then say nothing! I am only using the very thing you seem to be fond of. Logic. See? It's not so fun when you're on the receiving end, is it?
You're making a grave mistake, Grace. Blind faith could prove to be your downfall in situations like this.
I don't care! And I'm not blind! When I first met all of you, I was filled with hope. Sure, we may not be the most stable bunch of people, but because we hold the best intentions of this world in our hearts, I was sure we'd be able to work together to make the world a better place. And just like that, transforming the entire globe no longer felt like a hopeless ideal. Tell me, Sigmund, what's the point of this whole thing if I can't trust any of you? You're a philosophical man, so surely there must be an answer.
Hey, I know you guys probably want to continue having your little teen drama here, but will you save that for the peanut gallery? I'm sure you don't want me to call a vote out of sheer boredom, right?
Keck. It looks like I get to watch from the sidelines this time.
This time?
Comrade Grace, I won't let you down. Just watch me prove my innocence.
And don't think I'm just going to stand aside either. I refuse to let this get in the way of the truth. I'm not the culprit.
I'm not the killer. Only
admit,
one of us can be innocent,
if
right?
Hunt is telling the truth.
In that case,
I could have
please
been
allow
in
me
a
to
position
prove my
to lure
innocence.
Phoenix to his death.
I really did hear
I
a
was
strange
due to
noise,
release him, after
and
all.
that's why I left
But
my
that
post.
is a significant
I have
caveat.
no notion to lie about something
More
like that.
importantly, by the time I
swear
arrived
this
at
on
the
my honor as a
bicameral
British
room,
man.
Hunt was standing there alone, and Phoenix was already gone.
I'm not the killer.
I
Only
admit,
one of us can be innocent, right?
I hear it! Hold on, everyone! I think we're being led astray here. Both Sigmund and Hunt might be innocent.
Then let us not prolong this any further. Please, show us your evidence, my learned friend.
Already on it, Nyan. I'd like to draw everyone's attention back to the circumstances of the crime. Specifically, the method used by the murderer to kill Phoenix. This is a pretty big secret that the law enforcement family has been keeping under wraps. Gilmore, is this being recorded?
Does it even matter?
The MO of Phoenix's death? It matches the murder method used by the Indigo killer.
Indigo killer? As far as titles go, it sounds like something ripped straight from a caged video game.
Natalia, are you saying that the law enforcement family was keeping such a massive secret hidden from the public?
Well, it is law enforcement family after all. I bet they'd be great at vision denial.
I'm sorry, everyone, but the decision was out of my hands. Criminal investigation is not my jurisdiction.
Thank you, Natalia. I knew you'd pull through in the end.
Nani? I mean, what are you talking about, Sigmund?
Did my reaction not give it away? The existence of the so-called Indigo killer. It is not new information to me.
Is Sir being serious right now? He knew this whole time but didn't feel the need to point it out.
I had my reasons. One of them being I prefer to have someone else independently corroborate my memories.
Independently corrob the what now? Come on, Sigmund. I've been telling you this whole time to be more loosey-goosey with your language. Just give yourself to the rhythm, you know?
But I am.
Really? Well, do carry on then.
Hold it! Just to confirm with the witness, you're saying this incident in question matches the MO of the Indigo killer. Can I verify exactly what you mean by that?
Of course. The Indigo killer is from one of the most notorious serial murder cases our family has ever had to deal with. Murder after murder would be committed, with the victim always caught completely unaware. And each time, the arteries would be cut in such a way that the heart would be left completely disconnected from the rest of the body. Needless to say, it's a terrible way to die.
Gosh, Nat, you sure don't hold back on the gory details, do you?
And yet, the exact same thing seems to have happened in the present case. Such a bizarre murder method. No doubt about it. It would have been a ludicrously high-effort kill, even if one were to be skilled with a blade.
Exactly. It almost seems impossible, doesn't it? And to this day, the case remains unsolved.
This serial killer you have been investigating, you are suggesting they are hidden amongst the candidates?
One of us is a serial killer? But the Divine Eye. None of this. That wouldn't...
What? Should I be moving myself to safety? Are these things detachable, Kilmore?
Of course they are! With the right equipment.
That's not what freaking detachable means!
Witness! What makes you so certain it wasn't just a copycat killing?
Now, I'm no medical expert, Pierce, but that doesn't seem like the sort of murder method you could just copy on a whim. You would need legitimate skill to murder someone like that. Trust me. I'm a secretary.
I mean, your submissions are reasonable enough. But allow me to just state, for the benefit of the court, that the chance of a copycat killing isn't 0%.
Did y'all miss the part when Natalia said it was covered up by the bigwigs and law enforcement? Sure, the chance might not be 0%. But it would have to be pretty dang close considering how few people knew about it and the murder method. I don't need no divine eye to tell me that.
For the benefit of my logical reasoning drive, I'd like to verify one detail, Natalia. How can you so confidently assert that both Hunt and Phoenix are not the Indigo killer?
There's a simple answer to that, of course. Allow me to show you. I see! Just building on what the department managed to dig up about the Indigo killer's profile, the current assumption is that the Indigo killer is a young female. Young female?
Speaking from my experiences as a crime fiction novelist, the female culprits are often the deadliest.
So that means both Sigmund and myself are cleared?
Oh, whoa! Hold on a second. Were my ears just hard CC'd just now? Or did you just say the entire profile is an assumption?
Yes?
Come on, Nat. Surely you can do better than that. I mean, do you really expect us to risk our lives over just an assumption?
But it's all we have right now.
Well, if that's the case, then I'm afraid this gamer will have to insist that you dig deeper.
That is far easier said than done, dear lamb. Especially in the present circumstances.
How unfortunate. It seems your effort in unveiling this Indigo killer has been in vain, Natalia.
Why do you look so pleased? You're the one in the firing line, you baka! Yes, Pierce?
Allow me to summarize the current opinion of the court. While the general consensus is that this Indigo killer was involved in the incident under deliberation, the assertion that they are female is based purely on dubious second-hand evidence. Therefore, in the eyes of what I assume to be most of the assembled jury, there remains a credible possibility that either Hunt or Sigmund are the Indigo killer. Are we in agreement so far?
Please tell me you're about to fire off a solution to that particular gaping problem.
There was a certain phrase an associate of mine would reserve for times like this. We need to turn our thinking around. You're trying to prove that both Hunt and Sigmund are innocent. But is their gender the only way you can go about achieving this? That is all.
Well. It seems another round of deliberations are in order.
Let us proceed with caution. Sometimes it is easy to mistake the devil's murmurs for salvation.
This is a class trial, Levitica. The devil's murmurs are everywhere.
Yes, and there is only ever one devil.
Well, ladies and gents, it seems we're dealing with a serial killer.
And the prevailing view is that they can only be either Hunt or Sigmund?
Neither of them would have aroused Phoenix's suspicions if they tried to lure him away from the ring.
Did you not hear what Natalia just said? The Indigo killer is clearly a girl.
And yet, Nat herself is unable to confirm with certainty.
Let's think about this carefully. Other than Hunt, no one else saw the victim alive before 8 p.m.
I didn't see the victim either.
Don't you dare, comrade. While I was distracted, you could have easily lured him away.
Nat, now isn't the time to hesitate.
Information to share.
Oh. Are you going to claim that another serial killer was responsible instead?
Don't even joke about something like that!
No. The answer is even easier to comprehend than that. All this time we've had evidence showing both Hunt and Sigmund to be innocent. In the form of critical witness testimony.
Hold on. What exactly are you saying?
It's simple, Grace. We have someone who can attest to the fact that Phoenix was still alive at 8 p.m.
Pardon me for asking, but why does it even matter that Phoenix was still alive at 8 p.m.?
Oh, I see where this is going. Between 7 and 8 p.m., there was a chance for both Siggy and Hunt to spend some alone time with the victim. Enough to lure him away, kill him, and come back as if nothing had happened. But from 8 p.m. onwards, they were both on watch together. Which means they can provide each other with alibis. Clever girl, Nat.
Him? Providing me with an alibi? Why,
Let's not get distracted from the topic at hand here. Just who exactly is this witness, Natalia?
You're not saying...
I'm sorry, Mii-Yu, but you're the only person who can reveal the truth.
Person? The truth? But Natalia...
It's okay, Mii-Yu. You can tell them. Please, Mii-Yu. You have to trust us.
Yeah, come on, Mii-Yu. As my roommate, I know you have it in you to show everyone the truth. Who cares if it's scary? These trials only work if everyone's willing to share the deets.
Very well. Natalia's assertions are correct. I was watching the crime scene at the time of the incident. It must have been just before 8 p.m. when I observed Phoenix walking out of the bicameral room, in the direction of the building where he was later found dead. Not even a minute had passed before Sigmund appeared from the opposite direction, walking into the bicameral room.
Hey, Siggy. Was Hunt in the room when you showed up for your shift?
He most certainly was. Though his method of passing the time was interesting, to say the least.
Hush, comrade!
Secret methods aside, that's good enough for me. If Phoenix was still alive within a minute of the shift changeover, then I'm convinced that neither of you can be the culprit.
Dear Lamb, your temperament has changed. Is there something you wish to share?
You guys. Just when I thought you couldn't be bigger scrub lords. You bow down and do something like this.
If the robot is lying, then she too will join us in the afterlife. Tell me, dear Lamb, what reason could she have for defiling our ears with such a falsehood?
You've misread me, Levitica. Who cares if she's telling the truth?
Sir, have you completely lost your mind?
Hey, just hear me out. Let's ignore whether what she said was actually true. What's more important is the fact that she was even able to say it in the first place. Come on. Everyone should know what that means by now.
That she was at the scene of the crime?
And just why was she at the scene of the crime, I wonder? Could it be that her testimony left out the bit where she, you know, cut poor Phoenix up with a knife?
That is...
Well then, why the heck would she give us her testimony in the first place? She's been nothing but helpful this whole time!
Dear Lamb, did we not just establish that the culprit possessed a valid reason for being present at the scene? Since she was not scheduled to surveil the area, I believe Mii-Yu does not fulfill the criteria we have ascribed to our culprit. As it would be said in the common tongue, her presence would stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, but she's a robot. Maybe she's got a chloroform dispenser or something.
I have no such thing. Besides, traces of it would have been left behind.
Zeke, why?
Ah, Grace. How nice of you to speak up. Remember that rousing speech you gave earlier? About trust and working together and all that other cool stuff. Well, I was moved by it. Truly.
You have a weird way of showing it.
But I was, honest. I'd love to trust you all too. But let's be realistic about this. What Grace just did was run straight into the enemy base, without first destroying their towers.
Can you say that in a way which most of us can understand?
Easy peasy. Trust is the destination. It means we have to get there first. You know, without getting executed along the way. So prove it, Mii-Yu. Prove that you deserve everyone else's trust.
Hold it right there! What's this? Another split opinion? You guys sure love to disagree with each other, don't ya? I'm sure you know the drill by this stage. Are we all ready? Had time to drink plenty of fluid? Get some rest? Then let us begin, shall we?
Mii-Yu just admitted she was at the scene. Is there a reason she can't be the culprit?
The method is a professional killer. Do you really think she fits that profile?
Ah, but wouldn't it be irresponsible of us to judge based off appearance alone?
It's not just her appearance. I don't think her temperament fits that of a killer either.
I thought Mii-Yu was built to be precise and emotionless. She's a robot, is she not?
Have you been paying any attention this whole time? She's not emotionless at all!
This all seems rather peculiar. Are you claiming she visited the scene as a mere observer?
Mii-Yu was also in a reliable observer position during the last murder. I see no reason to doubt this now.
You all seem to be motivated purely by belief. How can you be sure she's not abusing our trust?
It's not just belief. We have concrete evidence showing that Mii-Yu can't have been the culprit.
Ooh, Nat! Did you just say concrete evidence?
Yes, I certainly did.
Hey, Nat, think about this carefully. According to you guys, Mii-Yu is a... robot.
Was that supposed to help in any way?
Just keep that fact in mind. And look over the evidence again very carefully.
You know, Pierce, you could just tell me.
To be honest, I don't really know either.
Oh, I don't believe that for a second. I see! Mina, allow me to draw your attention back to Phoenix's body. Remember the fingernails?
The fingernails?
Oh! There were skin cells under Phoenix's fingernails, right? That means my roommate totally can't be the killer. You know, 'cause she's a robot.
Evidence exonerating a robot, and only a robot. Truly, this is a moment to be recorded in the annals of history.
I concur.
That's a relief to hear.
But couldn't Phoenix have just scratched himself? What if he'd been bitten by a mosquito?
I don't think there's any mosquitoes around to bite us in the first place.
Not to mention that definitely wasn't his skin.
I can back her up on this too.
Yes, and given their recency, it's highly likely that he struck out at his attacker, possibly as he collapsed. It happened so quickly that it was all he could muster.
Such a great logical mind. Clearly your talents were wasted in the previous trial.
So I hate to shit on everyone's parade. I mean, it would be improper of me to ruin the present festivities, but if you would permit me to ask something, where does this get us exactly? Sirs and ma'ams, while I do rejoice in the fact that Hunt, Sigmund, and Mii-Yu have been deemed innocent, where does this leave us exactly? Hunt and Sigmund were the only two people, whose presence at the scene wouldn't have been out of place.
So, your logic is that we're out of suspects?
But the crime scene was in an open area. Technically, anyone could be a suspect.
And yet, not just anyone could have caught Phoenix completely by surprise. I think Dash's argument is completely reasonable.
Sirs and ma'ams, while I do rejoice in the fact that Hunt, Sigmund, and Mii-Yu have been deemed innocent, where does this leave us exactly? Hunt and Sigmund were the only—
No, that's wrong!
Has ma'am spotted an inconsistency in my argument?
Natalia, are you okay? You look very pale.
I'm ready to grab her if she faints.
Hey! No moving from your podiums! These are official proceedings we're conducting here, you know? Which means you gotta follow the rules!
It's the first I've heard of that particular regulation.
Dash, just now, you said that Hunt and Sigmund were the only two people who wouldn't have aroused any suspicion if they were spotted at the crime scene. Is that correct?
Yes! Isn't that the truth?
No. There was one other person. It can only be you!
You're pointing at Mona?
What? Why is everyone looking at me like that?
Mona, as far as everyone knew, you were supposed to start setting up a surveillance system on the day of the crime.
Right you are! What of it?
Mona, how do I put this? It means that if you were at the crime scene, no one would have been suspicious at all. In fact, you could have easily lured Phoenix away, under the pretense of helping you with setting up the surveillance.
No way! Mona? Would she really do something like that?
I'm confused, Nat. Just what are you suggesting? I have no idea what you're talking about!
Seriously, Mona? Of all your responses, you decide to feign ignorance?
No, seriously, I'm not a murderer! To kill Phoenix in such a violent way is completely out of the question for me! I can't stand violence! I just can't! There must be another explanation for this! The evidence! It's...
Oh?
Please, leave her alone.
Have we been down here for that long?
Please. She didn't do anything wrong. You have to listen to me.
Mona? What's gotten into you?
I'm fine. I can't let this faulty logic stand. I refuse to allow it. You've got it all wrong. Why would you jump straight to accusing her like that? Aren't you forgetting? Anyone could have gone to the crime scene and killed Phoenix without making him suspicious.
I'm listening.
There was no reason why Phoenix couldn't have gone with someone else. It didn't have to be her. You have no proof that she's this dangerous serial killer.
I shall slice through those lies. Mona, you knew all along, didn't you? About this hidden, dangerous side of yourself?
Sure, you can say that now, but where's your proof?
The proof comes directly from you, Mona. I'm talking about the strange contraption you set up outside your room. Its very existence gives away the fact that you knew, after all. The purpose of the contraption was to lock you in your own room, wasn't it?
What? To lock herself in her own room?
I thought she was simply testing a new device. But in hindsight, if the objects had been released, she would have been unable to open her own door, and that would have trapped her inside.
Hold on just a minute. Why would Mona feel the need to do something like that? I mean, if she really is a serial killer, then she would have been a threat this whole time.
This just in. I too would like to know exactly what made the day of the crime so special.
Perhaps her homicidal tendencies are periodic?
Comrades, does any of this even matter anymore? As sad as it may be, we now know that Mona is the culprit.
Can we really say that with certainty, though? Yes, there was a grain of truth to what Zeke said. I'm not an idiot. I'd be lying if I didn't admit that it's easier to trust someone only after you've tested all possibilities. In my own way, I think I, too, am searching for such a pure form of belief. But I think you've forgotten something, Zeke. In some ways, belief is both the path and the destination. If you refuse to listen to someone's words because they might be untrue, then that would be where your journey ends. So even when guilt appears certain, I will continue to trust in you, in all of you, until the moment Kilmore himself confirms your guilt.
Grace? Are you an idiot? I'm just a stranger to you. Why would you do something like that for me, even in the face of all this evidence?
You may call yourself a stranger now, but someday I hope to work with you to create a better world, as a friend and as a fellow candidate. I may not be great with words, but I meant everything I just said. Every single word of it.
It seems we have committed ourselves to deliberating this matter further. Let us make haste, then. In Mona's mind, it is clear that she found something to be amiss about today. The question is, what?
And again, I'd like to reiterate that it simply may be periodic.
It's all coming together. I think I found the truth. The third bicameral room. It was your kill code, wasn't it, Mona?
Kill code? What kind of sci-fi bullshit is this? I mean, could ma'am please clarify her statements?
I'm simply conjecturing at this point. But what if, Mona was a weaponized killer? The type who, if exposed to a certain psychological trigger such as a coded pattern, would be engaged to kill.
What?
Nat, if you don't mind me saying so, have you gone completely mad? Mona never set foot in the bicameral room, remember? She left before we went in, on the afternoon of the crime.
And since then, the room has been under constant surveillance, even if it was a kill code, as absurd as that proposition already is. She couldn't have been exposed to it after we left.
And you are asserting this in spite of Hunt's period of absence, because he claims the door was untouched?
Precisely.
Nat, if you don't mind me saying so, have you gone completely mad? Mona never
No, that's wrong! It wasn't just the cipher that we've been misinterpreting. There's also the matter of the note we found in Mona's room. That's it! The assumption so far has been this. Mona received the note on the day of the crime. Therefore, she went to the bicameral room. Correct?
My logical reasoning drive is not in disagreement.
Well, what if that was wrong? And Mona actually received it the night before.
It couldn't be.
Yet, proving that Mona made prior contact with the bicameral room would be a trivial effort at this point. You just need to look at this piece of evidence. Here it is. Recall the afternoon of the murder. There was something different about the bicameral room, wasn't there?
I did find it peculiar that when we entered, the room failed to change around us like usual.
Not to mention Mona's deliberate avoidance of the room itself when we were gathered together.
Mona, what happened the night before the murder?
None of you have any reason to believe me. It's just going to sound idiotic and...
What? Part of you is potentially a serial killer? None of that matters right now, Mona. We just want to find the truth.
There's no point in maintaining this idiocy any longer, is there? Then, I confess. My night persona and the Indigo killer are one and the same. But please don't blame her. It's not her fault. She doesn't know about it at all. If either one of my personas is exposed to the code, a psychological change occurs. A change that lies dormant inside of me until the next disappearance of the sun. It is then, in the next brief period of switchover, my night self's personality, desires, drives, everything she is becomes overwritten, to be replaced with the most primal of urges, the need to kill, nothing else.
So, that's why you followed the note's instructions. You were worried that someone else knew about your secret.
I had to go. If there was even a chance someone else knew, at the very least, I needed to meet them. I didn't know what happened when I showed up. Everything just went black. When I came to, I was inside the bicameral room, and like usual, I could already feel myself changing. I just knew it was only a matter of time.
And that's why you tried to lock yourself in your room?
You couldn't tell anyone because it was too dangerous. So you tried to cover the whole thing up by yourself. Mona, no one should ever have to carry a burden like that.
How tragic. Unfortunately, it seems you have gotten the truth you were after, Grace. This whole incident is now beyond repute. Mona is the killer. There's no way for us to overcome this basic fact.
But what of the letter? Are we supposed to just ignore it? Whoever is it that sent it to her? It is clear that they intended to trigger her homicidal tendencies.
What the heck? Who would do something so messed up?
Hey, Killmore! If a person made someone else commit a crime against their will, who should we vote for as the blackened?
I think I've heard of a case like this before. Once upon a time, there was a person who committed a certain brutal murder. But they weren't doing it for themselves. Oh no, they did it for love. You humans and your emotions. It never ceases to be an entertaining combination. But do you want to hear what their argument was before the courts? That they weren't the actual culprit, merely someone else's tool.
And what was the outcome of that case?
Who cares? Allow me to be crystal clear on this. The blackened in this case is someone who physically attacked the victim. No ifs, buts, or maybes. That is all.
Which means the sender of the letter is not a material fact in question. When it all boils down to it, all that is really relevant is the identity of the person who stabbed Phoenix to death. The matter of the letter will have to be deliberated at a different time.
It's okay. I've already accepted this would happen. Ever since my mistake.
Your mistake?
A few years ago, before I was known as the Ultimate Weapons Master, I had someone close to me, a family member. She was a great inventor, while I happened to be great at using her inventions, especially weapons. So she came up with an idea. To the world, we would become one person, a perfect complementary, split personality, the Ultimate Weapons Master. Finally, our worth would be recognized. Our lives would have value. All we had to do was switch places by night and day, and it worked until she...
Gosh, that's horrible.
I'll spare you the details, but I will say that through her, I came to see the world for what it is. A haven of unrepentant idiocy, where the few decent folk that exist would have their decency mercilessly exploited over and over again. I could never forgive myself for what happened, and that's when I heard about it. A secret experiment to revive the dead. Using your memories of someone else, that person could literally become part of you. I knew I was nothing without her, that her skills were necessary, and that it would only be a matter of time before people realized that my talent was no longer complete. So of course, I accepted.
Mona, you mean to say you... That is... your other half is...
Yes. My night persona is an artificial implant. A manufactured personality, salvaged from my memories of her. But there was a catch. It was only afterwards that I found out the program wasn't as it appeared to be, and that my desperation had made me stupid. In exchange for reviving the dead, they wanted blood. That code was simply their way of ensuring I would be bound to their will. And from the moment I took my first life, my fate was sealed. If I ever complained, all would be revealed, and I'd be gone for good. Unbelieved, scorned, reviled. I thought about ending it all at some point, but then I thought about it more, and decided I'd had my revenge. That was the one thing that kept me going. The idea that one day, I'd take down the people who turned me into what I am.
If you would allow me to conjecture, why would you single out Phoenix specifically? Was it because he reminded you of them?
The cruel, unforgiving surgeons with their white coats and smooth words? I suppose the possibility is there. But who knows how my other side thinks? When her senses have been completely overwhelmed, that's when everything goes blank.
You really are a complete idiot!
Hey! What did I say earlier about leaving your podiums?
Sigmund? What's gotten into you?
That's right, Comrade Thinker. No true gentleman would ever strike a lady.
Are you blind, Hunt? That lady in question happens to be a serial killer. Should I say it real slow so that you can understand? A serial killer. Getting auto-attacked by a philosopher is the last thing she should be worried about right now.
Mona, did you truly forget everything?
What do you mean? You're not making any sense.
When you looked him in the eyes, did you feel something? Anything at all?
Huh? There might have been something. But it's too late now, isn't it?
So it's happened. Yet again. Do you not understand, Mona? You've been deceived. Your memories, they've...
My... Ugh!
Aren't you going to eat? Your burger's going to get cold. Are you mad at me because of my lack of progress? Because I swear that one day I'll find a cure. Come on, Mona. Why do you always have to be so unfair? I can promise that I'm giving it my all.
Why are you even bothering me? Can't you see it's hopeless? Nothing can change what I've become.
You were turned into this to begin with, weren't you? So there has to be a way to change you back. I admit, it's difficult. But that's because of my arch nemesis!
Seriously? Where'd you come up with that? That's an idiotic excuse even for a fast food junkie like you.
It's true though! He's been around since childhood!
He clearly wasn't important enough to mention before now.
Shh!
Oh, of course. That arch nemesis. Seriously, Phoenix? Being stupid isn't like you. You're wasting your time. And unlike me, you actually spend your time saving lives.
It's not a waste! You know what I think? It's because you're not giving it your all.
Huh?
This is supposed to be a shared effort. I'm going to need your complete cooperation if the trial is to be a success.
Look, if you're gonna report me to the police, just do it now.
And why would we do that?
Because I'm dangerous, you idiot!
Why are you so averse to trusting people? No, wait. Don't answer that. I just thought you saw me differently to those other idiots. Guess I'm not at that stage yet, huh? Besides, when was the last time you killed? Exactly! For all you know, you could be developing a resistance. I seriously doubt they'd have held off on calling you again for so long. And resisting the urge? It must be difficult unless you really hate the idea of taking a life. Mona, you don't deserve to be lumped in with the rest of them. Your homicidal urges aren't those of a deranged psychopath. Besides, you know I'm bound by an oath of confidentiality anyway. Doctor-patient privilege and all that jazz.
Are you out of your mind? You really are a... complete idiot.
Not so fast! If that's the case, then let's be idiotic together!
He wanted to cure me.
And to that end, he created that fantasy of his, the arch nemesis. Of course, given our circumstances, he may have forgotten where it came from, but the fact that it persisted shows that he was sincere in his devotion to helping you.
No!
Say, Sigmund, I know that now might not be a good time, but how exactly did you come across all of that information?
I can't quite explain it myself. I'm still unsure as the precise manner in which our memories have been altered.
Memory alteration, huh? I wonder how deep this whole thing runs. Could it be that most of us really did know each other before this?
I think that is a reasonable conclusion to draw.
So that was the reason for your bloody plays? To keep us busy while we watched each other?
Yes. Would you have had a better suggestion? Something that wouldn't have aroused any suspicion while inducing a state of surveillance.
Yes. I can name several.
Gentlemen, please!
Yes. I concede that my plan wasn't foolproof, but I just had to do something. Something to promote safety without notifying anyone of my insanity. But now, I finally remembered. Like Blaze Before You, this unspeakable tragedy was manufactured not from our knowledge, but rather from our lack of knowledge. Though, in your case, I wonder if it would have made a difference in the end.
This can't be. I killed someone like that? Someone who cared about me when others turned away? Someone who... No. I really am a monster.
So, Kilmore, what happens now?
Oh? I take it you're all ready to vote?
Don't say that, Zeke. She could still be innocent.
I'm sorry. Guess I must have been high as a kite when I heard her confess to the crime.
Is this really the sort of truth that we can accept?
That's the thing with truth. It doesn't care about your feelings.
What's this? The sound of no one objecting? I'm all too happy to oblige with the vote!
It's all coming together.
Now, without further ado, it's voting time!
ちょっと待って!
What is it now?
Everyone, I've just made a shocking realization. What if Mona isn't the culprit after all?
Such belief. But do remember that it is a powerless quality in the absence of proof.
Who said I don't have proof? I just have to run something by you, Gilmore. What would happen if, say, someone attacked someone else, then in the time the victim lay dying, a third party came along and also attacked the victim? After all, slicing someone's arteries would all but guarantee their death. However, such a death would be very protracted.
Come again?
Huh?
Just showing my shock at how good of a question it was. Now, if something like that were to happen, the title of Blackened would then be split between the two people involved in killing the victim. Assuming, of course, that each Blackened individually dealt a blow that was capable of causing death. We don't want to involve someone who, say, accidentally tripped over the victim while they were dying.
But only one person can be executed?
Yep, but if that happens, the other Blackened would be forced to stay behind as though nothing had happened. We certainly can't go around rewarding failure, can we?
That seems like a rather flimsy framework for this type of scenario.
Well, my rules assume that, at any one point in time, there would only be one person bloodthirsty enough to deal a fatal blow. It seems I've underestimated you all, and for that, I sincerely apologize.
Of all the things that bear could have apologized for.
Why would you bring this up, Natalia? Surely you don't suspect that.
There's too many inconsistencies for me to just turn a blind eye. Why would the killer break their MO by stabbing the victim through the heart? What would be the point of using a different knife to do this? And why would you disconnect the heart from the rest of the body, only to then stab it?
I don't know. I thought serial killers were supposed to be deranged.
I know this is circumstantial. There's no reason the killer couldn't have just decided to bring an extra blade along to stab the victim through the heart. But speaking from my instincts as an investigator, it just wouldn't make sense. So please, everyone, I know a few of you may still have doubts from the last trial, but I'm asking you to believe in me. Sure, we have no reason to persist with this trial now that we've confirmed Mona to be a culprit. But we have an obligation to find out the whole truth of Phoenix-kun's death.
Nat.
You needn't worry, Natalia. We'll be with you to the bitter end.
Your words make sense. Besides, I do not think that Phoenix would have willingly absconded with a person carrying such a threatening sword. There were signs from the start that this crime may have been the handiwork of two different people.
Your assertions are based on circumstantial proof, Levitica. For instance, if the culprit had hidden the branched sword in the room prior to luring Phoenix there, the logic of your argument would crumble, like a house of cards. But I agree. If given the opportunity, it is always better to confirm the truth.
Very well. We've come this far. It would be remiss of us not to test all opportunities in an open debate.
What, did you think I'd say no? Even a bear likes spice with his dishes every once in a while.
Well, what are we waiting for? Time to find out who this other killer is.
I must say, Natalia's theory seems doubtful at best. I still think we're simply dealing with a psychotic serial killer.
I'm somewhat inclined to agree. After killing the victim, the culprit would have needed to leave the crime scene. at which point they would surely have been spotted. Yet, for that entire period between 8 and 9 p.m., Hunt and I saw no one leave the crime scene.
Comrade Thinker speaks the truth.
But surely if Phoenix is still alive at 8 p.m., then that means he died between 8 and 9 p.m. We're definitely missing something.
I must say, Natalia's theory seems doubtful at best. I still think we're simply dealing with a psychotic serial killer.
I'm somewhat inclined to agree. After killing the victim, the culprit would have needed to leave the crime scene, at which point they would
No, that's wrong!
Oh? Have you identified a flaw in my line of reasoning, Natalia?
I'm afraid so. Did you say the killer would have been spotted leaving the crime scene?
Yes? Does that not make sense?
Well, how about this? What if I told you that it was possible for the killer to attack Phoenix without ever being in the same room? All they would have needed to do is insert the blade through. That's it! Everyone, I'd like you to all think back to the state of the crime scene. Recall that an unnatural hole had been made in the ceiling. Did anyone else not find it strange that it was directly above the victim? I mean, it's obvious the ceiling didn't just crumble away.
You don't mean...
Yes, I think we finally figured it out. The true culprit actually made the hole for the express purpose of thrusting a sword through Phoenix's heart. All they would have needed to do is drop it from the room above.
So that's why the planks were on top of his body. He'd already been attacked by the time he was stabbed through the heart.
I think that's what Comrade Natalia has been saying all along.
But then, how would the culprit have gotten to the floor above? And don't even think about saying that they teleported.
I wasn't going to. There was an open window at the back of the house connecting straight to the upper floor, on the side facing away from the bicameral room. Additionally, the window was not too high off the ground. If they were able to use this window, they would have been able to enter and leave without ever being spotted by Hunt or Sigmund. And the piece of evidence they used to gain access to this window was... this right here!
What a problematic sword.
I'm sure the culprit would agree. First of all, the culprit used the sword as a makeshift ladder, with the branches operating as the rungs. It was certainly long enough, but since the branches were not designed to support the weight of a person, each of them bent downwards while the culprit was climbing, leaving an obvious trail for us to find.
Virginia says problematic. I say versatile. Who knew that a simple sword could conceal so many functions?
Then, escaping would have been a simple matter of jumping down from the same window through which they entered. It was certainly not a fatal height. And assuming your logic holds, Hunt and I would never have been able to spot them, as they would have remained on the upper floor the entire time.
It couldn't be. Everyone, just think carefully about this whole thing for a second. This mysterious second culprit stayed on the upper floor to commit their crime. But at the time, the upper floor, no, the entire crime scene was Natalia. Did you figure it out?
Natalia? Are you okay?
Hunt. Sigmund. I'd like to confirm something. The door to the room where Phoenix was found, was it closed at the time of the crime?
I would assume so. The door opens outwards, so we definitely would have noticed if it was open.
And you're both certain of this?
Of course, comrade.
Then allow me to name the true culprit of this case. It can only be you.
What? Why her, comrade?
Yeah. Wouldn't murder be like against her religion or something?
Dear Lamb, may I ask why you think I am the second culprit?
The reasoning behind it is simple. Since the door to the crime scene was closed at the time, and the torches in the room above were unused, the whole place would have been completely dark. So dark that the ordinary person wouldn't have been able to see Phoenix, let alone aim a sword at his heart. And yet, I can openly attest to the fact that you're comfortable seeing in the dark. Not just from experience, but also using this piece of evidence. This right here! When you gave it to me, you said it was redundant. But to most people, there was always the possibility that a source of light would be useful. Levitica, why? Why would you do this?
How foolish. The room is dark and therefore I'm the culprit. Such flimsy reasoning is an affront to the gods themselves!
Natalia made a good point, though. I doubt anyone else could see in the dark as well as you can.
But the possibility exists, does it not?
I've also sensed a change in your temperament recently, Levitica. Usually, you're so fond of those whispers of yours. And yet, you failed to mention them even once during this trial.
Allow me to begin by first proclaiming my innocence. From 7 to 9 p.m., I stayed away from the scene of the murder. Therefore, I did not have the opportunity to kill.
But the room was completely dark at the time of the crime. Who else could have stabbed Phoenix after Mona left, if not
That
you?
conclusion was based on nothing but a series of assumptions. It remains possible that the person who stabbed Phoenix through the heart and the person who severed his arteries are one and the same. You have nothing tying me to the crime in any way. Nothing at all. Allow me to begin by first proclaiming my innocence. From 7 to 9 p.m., I stayed away from the scene of the murder. Therefore, I did not have the opportunity to kill.
But the room was completely dark at the time of the crime. Who else could have stabbed Phoenix after Mona left, if not
That
you?
conclusion was based on nothing but a series of assumptions. It remains possible that the person who stabbed Phoenix through the heart and the person who severed his arteries are one and the same. You have nothing tying me—
No, that's wrong! Levitica, I thought there was something wrong about the fourth bicameral room. I felt no connection to it whatsoever. And now, I think I know why. It was yours, wasn't it?
Hers? Don't be ridiculous, comrade. She never set foot in the room.
She didn't. But this did. Here it is. Levitica-chan's lantern. I carried it in front of me as I entered.
But then, this would mean the rooms are activated by...
Perhaps not. Who can say?
Assuming in all likelihood that it is her room, I think the connection becomes a bit clearer. Your crime, Levitica. The room put it on full display. Especially since we know now the likely mechanics of the murder.
There's too many coincidences for it to be dismissed as mere happenstance at this point.
Wait, is this a reference to the previous killing game? As I recall, the first murder was based wholly around the symbolic imitation of a speech.
It certainly looks to be the case.
So the darkness of the clouds was supposed to represent the state of the crime?
I think so. And by that same token, the beam extending downwards from it is probably supposed to represent the sword.
Which means the house was Phoenix himself.
Symbolism, dear lamb. Is that the full extent of your evidence? I would dispute Sigmund's claims, not mere happenstance. All of the evidence you have provided against me epitomizes the term happenstance.
Blood.
Huh?
There was blood on the sword, wasn't there? But not on the tip.
Yes?
You know how the sword was used now.
Tell me, dear lamb, how well do you think you know me? Why don't we put that knowledge to the test? Darkness and symbolism. Is that truly the extent of the evidence you have against me? I'm sorry, dear lamb, but I'm going to have to demand some concrete evidence. After all, you and I both know this isn't something I am capable of.
You're preaching to the converted, Levitica-chan.
Natalia!
Of course I know it's something that you wouldn't do. If you had the choice. So, please, help me understand. If I prove that you're the culprit, can you promise me that you'll explain yourself? The blood on the sword. All we need to do is think back to how the sword was used, and the truth becomes clear. It's over, Levitica-chan. All we need to do is take a look at your... foot.
You are very perceptive, dear lamb. To think that someone like you may one day shoulder the burden of the world's law enforcement. Clearly no criminal will be safe from your prying eyes. Very well. Walking around proclaiming blasphemy and lies. That was just not the sort of person that I am. I can only hope that the gods forgive me for this.
Levitica? Why would you do something like this? I always saw you as nothing less than a kind-hearted person, Levitica. Always there for me when I needed it. There's just no way that all of that was a lie.
What the heck? How are we even supposed to vote?
Well, we could.
Split the votes.
Agreed.
But...
Only one person will be executed.
Well, Kilmore, what about them? Do they still need to vote?
Given the special set of circumstances, I'll show mercy and allow Levitica and Mona to abstain. They've earned a nice long rest after all this. At least, one of them has.
Then, let's keep it straightforward. Forget about the moral quandary of choosing who to execute. Everyone on the right side of the hall, vote for Levitica. And everyone on the left side, vote for Mona.
This whole incident started the day before the murder, when Mona received a mysterious letter. Under threat of blackmail, she was coerced into visiting the bicameral room, where, in her words, everything went black. We can safely assume that, at this point, she was knocked unconscious, then pushed into the bicameral room, where she was exposed to her kill code. Upon regaining consciousness, she immediately realized what had happened. Additionally, she knew she had until the next evening to safeguard everyone from the danger that she knew she presented. That's why, the very next day, she refused to enter the bicameral room with everyone else, and instead sought to set up a mechanism which would effectively, but safely, trap her in her own room. However, at some point, the mechanism was rendered useless, allowing her to escape. As a result, when night fell, Mona was able to leave her room, not as Mona, but as the newly reactivated Indigo killer, a shadow of herself, programmed with the single-minded desire to rob someone of their life. Making her way to the bicameral room, the Indigo killer sought to isolate someone to kill. She found such a victim in Phoenix, who was standing guard over the bicameral room at the time. To separate Hunt and Phoenix, she created the noise that Hunt described, which, in reality, was a distraction to ensure that Phoenix would be left alone in the bicameral room. Since Mona's presence could be easily excused by the fact that she was to set up a surveillance system monitoring the area, Phoenix thought nothing of Mona's request for help and willingly obliged. This was the final mistake that he would make. Once isolated, she struck repeatedly and mercilessly, stabbing him 3 times with such speed that he could do little but scratch at his assailant. As he collapsed to the ground, his arteries severed. With Phoenix mortally wounded and Hunt still distracted, the Indigo killer left the scene and disposed of the weapon. However, this is where things get a little more complicated. At the same time, the culprit, who sensed that something was amiss about Mona, had followed her to the medieval world. There, she noticed Mona walking with Phoenix to the building across from the bicameral room. Thinking that she would be spotted if she entered the same way, she removed the sword from the throne room, intending to use it as a ladder, with the branches as rungs. However, while climbing, she caught her foot on a branch. This was how one of the branches towards the tip came to be stained with blood that wasn't Phoenix's. At this point, it is likely that she was at least aware of the terrifying scene that was unfolding directly beneath her. Removing the floorboards to create an opening, she thrust the branched sword through the hole, striking Phoenix in the heart. Though both rooms were pitch black at the time, this was no impediment to the culprit, who could effectively see in the dark. With her crime complete, the culprit simply jumped from the same window she had used to enter before absconding the area altogether. The reason she chose to stab Phoenix is unknown, but we know that this is what happened. And now we come to the dilemma. That's right. Mona-chan and Levitica-chan. Both of you are the blackened.
It seems the votes are in, and you've decided correctly. The person who blackened their soul with the taint of murder was none other than Levitica, the ultimate missionary. And what's this? It was decided by a majority.
A majority?
But that means... Levitica, why would you do that? You should have let Kilmore decide.
Levitica-chan! Say something!
Very well. Allow me to start from the beginning. Originally, I had planned to spend this evening alone, to commune with the gods in accordance with my usual routine, but the Whispers sensed that something was amiss. Such as what happened when Mona and I passed briefly in the hall. She had a faraway look in her eyes, one that chilled me to the bone, and when I greeted her, she failed to respond.
So, you followed her?
That is correct. Her journey took her all the way to medieval world, and that's when she conversed with Phoenix. It seemed ordinary at the time, but it was then that I noticed that he was alone with her, and that they were both walking away from the bicameral room. That's when I knew I had to be prepared to defend myself.
And that's when you grabbed the sword from the throne room?
Also correct, dear lamb. It was big and unwieldy, but it was also the only thing I could think of at the time. As experience dictated, I planned to wield it as a weapon if the situation so demanded. I also identified that the sword could be used as a makeshift ladder. That way I would not have to walk through the front door if Mona was lying in wait, and it would remove the possibility of being seen by prying eyes. Yet before I was able to reach the window, I heard a muffled scream. In my haste, I proceeded to catch my foot on one of the branches. It was not long before I came to know the truth of what had transpired. Yes, it was dark, but for someone who lived in darkness as a child, that was no impediment.
So you're saying that by the time you returned to the scene, Mona had already attacked Phoenix?
But that still doesn't explain why you'd stab Phoenix through the heart. He was already going to die!
Is it not obvious? Mona's brutal attack was not emblematic of her character. Even the most blind man could see that. And that is why I did it.
Bullshit. If that's really true, then why didn't you just confess right away? Why make us go through this whole farce of a trial?
A good question. We humans can be such temperamental vessels. When the thought of dying finally became a reality in my mind, I could feel a coldness the likes of which I had never experienced before. The air around me froze, and every time the thought of a confession crossed my mind, My mouth would move, but no words would escape. I suppose the ordinary person would call it fear. The fear of death. That when my soul has abandoned this earthly plane, I would leave behind nothing but regret. Is it not laughable? I may call myself a missionary, but as an emissary of the gods, I am nothing more than a coward. A pathetic little thing, afraid of the judgment that lies beyond.
You and I both know that's false. You're far from pathetic. During this trial, you had multiple openings to divert the blame back to Mona, but you took none of them. Even at the end, the evidence remained inconclusive. We had no way of proving that your foot wound came from the sword. No. You never saw this trial as an opportunity to escape.
It is true that I hope to be delivered back onto the path of righteousness, to atone for the sins of the past, and to rediscover my resolve anew. Whether this has actually happened will be a matter for the gods alone to determine. Even now, the whispers remain silent as to my fate.
All of this happened because of me. Why, Levitica? Why would you do so much? And you barely even know me.
That is patently false, dear lamb. In fact, I am intimately acquainted with each and every one of you. Of course, that includes you, Mona. That other half. This long-departed relative of yours. Please let her live on. For even in death, our essence persists in those who still draw breath.
First Magnus and Blaze, now you and Phoenix. None of you are bad people. So why? Why does this keep happening? It's just too sad.
I am sorry I cannot offer you guidance at this trying time, dear lamb.
You know, Levitica, I suspected I was wrong about you, but now I'm certain. You're a far better person than I could ever be. To think it would take until now for me to see into your mind. It truly is a beautiful, vibrant thing.
Do not undervalue yourself, dear lamb. You may dabble in the occult, but as long as you do so with a good heart, is that not all that matters in the end?
Comrade, you saved Mona's life. Whatever your methods may have been, it is clear you had good intentions.
Good intentions? Yes, I saved a life by consorting to take another one. To save through murder? Can such a thing ever be justified as the product of a good heart?
Okay, I've heard enough. Levitica, you and I both know they haven't stopped. These whispers of yours? You've been blocking them out this whole time. So just quit lying to yourself already.
Perhaps you are right. If I concentrate hard enough, I can almost hear the call. Almost. The path ahead for all of you will be difficult, but I know you can persevere. This is why we were chosen to lead the world. The gods may be mysterious, but everything is by their design. I hope you don't ever forget this, just as I won't forget any of you.
Levi-chan.
Thank you, Natalia. I found our discussions, few as they were, to be enlightening. It was truly a pleasure to have been graced by your company.
Let's give it everything we've got. It's punishment time!
No!
man! You guys never fail to impress, don't ya? From the moment you were guaranteed to get the answer correct, this should have been boring. But nope, not at all!
Do you need any help, Mona?
I'll be fine. Unforgivable. And here I was, thinking you'd stay true to your creed.
Huh?
You heard right. Do you think we forgot about the note? Someone must have written it to lure Mona to the bicameral room. And that person wasn't Levitica.
Are you sure about that?
Now I'm certain. Well, was it you who put this whole chain of events into motion?
I may be underhanded, but I'm not that underhanded. You're looking at the wrong place.
So, it was the traitor. They knew about Mona's condition and wrote her that letter, with intention of exposing her to the kill code.
And on that topic, someone disabled Mona's mechanism to keep herself locked in her room. They really went out of their way to make sure she'd become a culprit.
Geez, Mona. You must have seriously pissed someone off.
That sure seems to be the case, doesn't it?
Come to think of it, this is the first actual proof we have that the traitor not only exists, but they're trying to kill us.
And in this case, it was more than just a try. Thanks to their plans, we just lost 2 more members of our batch.
But what about the vote we just had? If they really wanted to kill Mona that badly, couldn't they have, you know?
There are 3 possible explanations for this. 1. They were already designated to vote for Mona, meaning they had no means of influencing the outcome. 2. They were designed to vote for Levitica and voted in obedience to this instruction. If this is the case, it is likely they did so to avoid narrowing the suspect pool by half. And 3. They were not designated to vote for Mona, but did so anyway. However, since Levitica was just executed by majority, other than Levitica herself, someone else who was not designated to vote for her must have done so. In effect, they would have needed to anticipate that the traitor would vote in such a way. Of course, the third option is by far the least likely of the 3.
Interesting. Well, just something to keep in mind.
Enough of this serious stuff, Zeke. You may act all scum-like, but you're a real softie, aren't you?
I have no idea where you got that impression from.
Isn't it obvious? That thing you said to Levitica about the whispers. You didn't have to, but you still did.
Don't get the wrong idea. I fight for excitement and truth, not for sappiness. You guys already have that in spades. Well, if none of you are going to get in, guess I'll just leave without you.
Don't you dare!
This just in. It appears our reporter has been gravely underestimated.